Here we are.
Here we are
Okay.
again. I know it's great. And I'm so excited because I haven't seen you, Karen, for
I know, I
a
miss
couple of
you.
years.
Yeah.
Um, I have Karin Tinning here with me from Portland, Oregon. The Casa
Yes.
family is all over the world, and daughter of the Casa, and has just come back from Abadiania. And I wanted to get right in, stuck right in, because we have time now to talk about how you found out about the Casa and when did you arrive there? And we take it from there.
Okay. So, hi everyone. My name's Karin Tinning, and I'm a licensed acupuncturist. And I found out about the Casa long before I actually went. So I went in 2014. I worked with, some people apprentice with masters, and so I've apprenticed with a master here in Oregon. And several of her clients were profoundly sick. Like they had seen 10 or 20 regular doctors, they had been through all the naturopaths, and they were like told that there was no hope. And they went down to the Casa. And I was a mother of a young child. And at the time, back in the early 2000s, the Casa was dirt roads and it
Yeah.
just, I was like a single mom. It was like, I was just way too much work for me and it just didn't call to me. So, but I knew several people who had been. And then in 2014, a client who had been to the Casa was coming to me repeatedly, and I kept urging her to go. I was like, "You got to go back. You got to go back." And it was the weirdest thing. I don't even know when it happened. It became all of a sudden my trip, not her trip.
Wow.
And I don't know when it was. I'm going to the class. I couldn't tell you, but I get goosebumps talking about it because I didn't have a passport. You had to have a
Mhm.
visa, and in 2014, I was had just turned. I had turned in 2013 50, and I'm like, okay, I get to celebrate for a whole year from August to August. When you have the big five, the big six, you get a big something. So I was looking for something special to do. So I already knew that I was going to do something special, and Abadiania became my gift to myself for my 50th birthday, although I turned 51 in August. But anyway, long story short, it was the World Cup. And they said that there was no way the visa could arrive. And we had booked our air flight already. And they were saying that the visa would not be there for 2 weeks to a month. And I'm like, wow. But you know what? I don't know what it was. It was like, we had our visa, like that's the miracle of the Casa. We had our visas 2 weeks before we flew. Like
Mhm.
I got goosebumps again. So
It's meant
that's
to
how
be
I got
there.
there. Somebody else's trip became my calling, and somebody that I knew was my guide. She was a terrible guide. She was, but and I'm grateful to her because she was able to get me to Abidjania. She knew what a pusada was. She could
Good.
figure out get the basics. And then once I was there, I was at the San Rafael. I met the lovely, oh, she is the photographer. What is her name?
Karen Leffer.
Huh?
Karen Leffer?
No, the
Oh,
photographer. Oh, she brings tons of groups there.
oh
I'm
yeah.
blanking on her name
So
right
many
now.
people.
Anyway, I
Hundreds
know.
of thousands of people.
I'm so sorry blanking on her name, but it's like again, God provides. Like, this woman was charging me outrageous amount of money, whatever, but there was no stopping me from being there. I didn't, I just found the right people to tell me what to do, and yeah, so that's how I got to the Casa.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic. And then when you got there, I mean, it's a different country, it's a different culture. Portuguese is the language. And then it's living by faith and not by sight because
Right.
the Casa started developing more and more 2012. Um, and then, so many people were there. So you just said before we went to air here that you met the right people, the right conversations.
Right.
Did you have any physical interventions or just interventions while
Oh,
you were here?
absolutely. It was a very short trip. It's like 2 weeks. Um, and I had never done the herbs.
Wow.
I had never put my photograph. I mean, I was like a total newbie. And when I first got, I could feel the energy even in the waiting room. And back then it was just packed. There was just, standing room only. And I did offer to have a physical intervention. And then I kind of chickened out. And then anyways, but of course I did. I mean, I was there. Like I wasn't messing around. Like some part, I don't know, there wasn't a thought that what I was there for, but I felt I needed it so desperately that yeah, I think I had at least one. I don't remember if I had two interventions, but I know that I had one. And yeah, so yeah. And it
And
was
then
powerful. Just hearing Medium Joao's voice. I can still remember him coming into the surgery room and him talking, and it's like the hair stand up. I mean, there's just, and it wasn't his voice. There was some, it's
entity.
he was at the height of his strength then physically, because he had, later in the years he was sick and not as strong, but in 2014 he was still strong physically and had,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I'm grateful. We were just saying beforehand for Medium Joao saying yes to his mission because otherwise we wouldn't be friends. And
absolutely.
hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, have become our friends, sons and daughters of the
Oh
Casa,
yeah,
and we're planted all over the world. And,
exactly.
we are connected by that common thread. And like, I haven't seen you for a while, and I just pick up where I left off. So
Right.
you're my friend. It's like time has stood still. It's like you were just in my cafe a couple of days ago.
Yeah,
Remember,
I do. I do.
and how many times did you go to the Casa in all? Because you've been there recently as well.
I have. So I am grateful for the medium to say yes, because I know it saved my life. Like I'm like who I am today would not be, I just wouldn't be who I am today. And
Exactly.
it's like, and it was me bringing myself to save my life. Like he says, God worked through him. It was me being there saying yes with really no idea what I was saying yes to. There was some part of me that was like I said, it was me urging somebody, and all of a sudden it was absolutely, I had to be there. And you talked about the friendship. It's for me, there was a community there that I still travel there for, because you can talk about things that you can't really talk about to things, to quote unquote normal people, or people in your everyday life,
Absolutely.
it's like, for instance, the first time I went to the waterfall, I went with a friend that I happened to meet at the hotel, and she was a guide, and I met my friend Ron. I met Ron my first trip. I fell
Oh, of
madly in love with Ron. He
course.
like he said, we were, I was one of his wives, and not this lifetime, but we had this husband wife relationship, and it wasn't anything sexual. It was just this mad love for this man. And
Yes.
so the first time I go to the waterfall, I'm just with this one woman, and she took me to the waterfall, and we're visiting afterwards, and she asked me a question, and I was like confused. And then and this is how the healing of Abadiania is. I had lost my first child. I had lost my son,
Mhm.
and that's who she was picking up. And
Wow.
I had completely forgotten, which I'm sad to say, but it's a long story, but and it just bowled me over, the grief that I had not experienced, and I hadn't even thought about him. So
Mhm.
then we're like, and it's like, and how many people can like say, oh yeah, and then you start talking about some child you like never were able to meet, and then Ron, we start talking, and he goes, you need to name him and have a birthday party. So
Oh,
we went to Fruities and we got a little cake, something. This was over the next week talking about my son. And we went to King Solomon's Triangle with my friend and Ron and the little thing, and we sang happy birthday. And I named
lovely.
my son Kavika, which is Hawaiian for David. And we
Very
cried, and
nice.
I owned this child. I know.
Wow. I'm all goosebumps myself.
And it's like, and then I came back and I told my family about him, and people like, I didn't know. I mean, just, you just keep these things, and you don't even know that they're there to be healed.
Wow. That's
I
beautiful.
know. Yeah,
So,
that,
on so many levels, you were receiving healing, like healing that you actually could witness yourself, but also there's also the subtle healing that somehow, after an intervention, even after not so much a week or the next day, because people want instant cures, but after
oh,
40 days, you start noticing things like, wait a minute,
right,
I'm healing. I don't feel that anymore. I mean,
right, right.
I had about, I don't know, I can't even, 70 operations in the Casa, and three of them were physical. And they were all powerful. They were not even,
Right,
not
right.
one of them was not mind blowing, but also physically, mentally, and emotionally and spiritually, I was re uh, calibrated by all of these operations, and everyone built was a building block, each and every one of them. And the Casa saved my life. I can say that
Yeah,
because I went there in very bad shape. And I went there with my sister thinking because she had multiple sclerosis, I was going
right,
for her, but I'm still
right,
alive and she's on the other side, alive and well and kicking
right,
in the beyond the veil.
right.
So this is the beauty of the Casa because it can be very unsubtle, like a physical intervention, which is very much in your energy field, or just these interventions they think, oh, there's nothing happening. And then people, or surrogate interventions, which I did a lot of, and people saying, I didn't feel anything. And I said, just wait,
Yeah,
because be patient. And
yeah.
you, it was always great to see you showing up because every time you came to Abadiania, you upshifted more and more.
Uh-huh.
And I only noticed this, and I'll tell you truthfully, when COVID
Yeah,
happened, and then we had the opportunity to actually sit in my
yes.
empty cafe together and have
Mhm.
this beautiful conversation about our healing, which I
Right,
never had time, space,
right,
energy, and you too, because you're only there for two
right,
weeks at a time. And that's where we really connected because
right.
in this silence, because the casa went from being this mad, noisy, thousands of people to 12 people in the current, which is extraordinary, and the energy is even more powerful now.
And I mean, there can be 12, but there can be 30 or 40 too. I mean, there can be a bigger number. Um, I always find that um, be careful what you pray for. I remember a few years ago, because I've been going consistently since COVID. I was like again, really drawn to go. And there was like, this, the whatever, this red alert, don't go. And I was like, I was scared the night before. And I'm like, I just am so called to be there. And I was the only person at the Pusada, which is what a trip that is, to be the only person at a Pusada. And you had to cook for yourself. I know, but which was kind of fun. You had to go to the farmer's market and a whole nother thing. But what I noticed is, I think it was that trip that I said to God, I kind of just fully kind of surrendered, God, like just turned it over. And then I got back and I'm like, oh, wait, that's too much. Because I was like so many things. Because you feel just, I've always well, I mean, Abidjan is not easy. There are times when you're hot. There are times when all of your stuff plays out in front of you, all of your stories about, like during COVID, you had to get a COVID test to go back, right? And I had to pay $400 to get a COVID test to go, which was ridiculous because they had to have these certain parameters. So then to return, I had to have a COVID test, and I had to hire a taxi driver to drive me to Annapolis.
Yeah.
And I get there and they want my passport. Well, and when I come to Abba, I put my passport in my say, put it away, and I don't bring my
Yeah,
passport with me. So here I am, 45 minutes away. And anyway, so I'm able to get Russell to open my bag and get my passport and take a text, and then my taxi driver speaks enough English that he could, so it all worked out. But it triggered, I'm stupid. It
I
triggered
know.
it triggered like you don't even know something, but all of a sudden, all of the shame that my father dumped on my head, and it's not done. It's not like you like have a trigger and you're all done, but it was all of that played out for me. And
Wow.
I knew it was a healing, but it's not comfortable when you get those buttons pushed, and all of a sudden you're reliving a dialogue in your head that is not true, and having, you're under a crystal bed, but you still are impacted by that. So I find that there's always moments when somebody's going to test my boundary. On my last trip, I had to draw really strong boundaries. There were some people that are just like, they just needed, I was like, no, this, I'm not going to engage with this conversation. And
Yes.
I respect you, and I'm not gonna, and so I find that God, it's like this is a microcosm of my life in Abadiania, and all the things that I do or don't do, or my things that I need to show up for, get played
Yeah.
out there. And then I
Yeah.
come home and have to, and then usually the first 3 to 6 months are really challenging to integrate, because I'm not the same person, right? So things that didn't fit,
Exactly.
have to be reprogrammed, and it's uncomfortable, because I need to let go of my practice in St. Helens. I need to move. I mean, these are big decisions that I keep trying to go back to my normal life, and God keeps throwing me down on the mat and saying, nope, that's not, and you finally get it and you let go, and everything just falls out effortless. But there's a few months of being wrestled to the mat, because I don't want to give up what I think I want to do.
I know, and it's part of the surrendering that Dom Ignacio. I mean, I didn't get anything when I went to Abidjan first. I thought, oh, I'm just here for my sister. But as the time went on, I just ended up putting up a white flag so many times because I thought, I'm not in control of any of this. Like, I just have to show up. And that for me to actually let go, your ego is always there saying, you know, you can do this or you can do that. Whereas you're like, no, you have no control over anything. You need to surrender to the divine power. And that was one of the biggest, if not the biggest lessons I have taken from Abijania, because I have no control over
Yeah,
anything.
we
They
don't.
decide. And
Yes.
and somebody might say something to you and you go, excuse me, because they're after telling you a truth that it comes from their mouth, not something you've been thinking, or you're almost finishing sentences. And it happened a lot, so many synchronicities in Abijania.
Yeah.
And then when you go out into the real world, you really have to rise above the noise and the chaos and the negativity, and also the lack of belief and faith. So many people are struggling still because the amount of fear that's been put into the world with
Yeah.
pandemic and stuff. But I see nothing but light. I mean, um, coming back to Ireland this summer, I mean, it's lovely. The weather, okay, it's not Brazil, but I mean, I've been out swimming in the lakes, even though it's cold. I don't care. But
Yeah.
I find it very hard to speak about my life in Abidjan because a lot
Yes.
of people would be
Yes.
walking away from me backwards
Yeah.
going,
Right.
"Ah." And I find that you always connect with the people that are sent to you. I mean, people literally are showing up, and I'm like, oh my God, these people are actually on it. I mean, I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I mean, some people are awake and some people are not. And
Right.
you can't waken people up. So you have to be careful about and gently guide people and just say, I mean, I just say, oh, I had a cafe in Brazil and it went, belly up during COVID, and now, I have a crystal business. So that is not talking about somebody pulling tumors out of people's heads without anesthetic and
Right.
their bare hands. So, you know, that
Right. And
stuff you really can't say. And it
well,
happens,
unless,
and it's true.
well, the thing, that's what I'm saying, is that I do know there's a lot of light, and there's a lot of attack on the light right now too. And um, when you talked about being a Casa daughter and Casa son all over the world, that brings me comfort because it's community. And I know
Yes.
that there are points of light all, and that's what I love about coming to Brazil. I have always loved about coming. I don't know how many times I've been. I think it's some people have like big numbers. 10, I think I'm a 10 is my, I think finally
Yeah.
hit double digits, but that's a big deal for me with my
Love.
finances. I'm a single woman. I've been raising my daughter. It's a big expense of time and money. Now I go for a month. Like if I'm coming to Brazil, I'm going to sit down and I had the best, like this last trip, I didn't talk to anybody back home for 3 weeks and was absolute, like the first time in my life, I'm like, oh, I'm not, I'm in this codependent relationship with my mother. She's not well. There's a whole trauma cyclone of insanity going on. And I was there in Abad, when I come to Brazil, it's like I get a taste of who I am and
Mhm.
not who I've been told who I am or the frequency. Like the family of origin that I grew up in was full of alcoholism and mental health issues. And
Mhm.
all of that I internalized as something was wrong with me. And one of the biggest lessons the entities told me this trip is it's not your fault.
Exactly.
And that is a struggle because everything was, that's how it's deflected in my family is it's your
Of
fault. And
course.
so to hear that and to know that I know who I am. These are really huge lessons that have taken me arduous. Like I have fought for my sobriety. I have fought, and it's not just my alcohol. I haven't had a trouble with alcoholism, although everybody in my family is a raging alcoholic.
Oh, I'm
And I
sorry.
have compassion for their pain. I do.
Mm.
But what's happening right now is rather than be accountable to their own pain and my brother is dying, they're just viciously attacking because they
Yeah.
can't be present and I just need to step anyway. I'm talking about my own personal drama, but I'm saying that the 3 weeks in Brazil that I was just there, I had a sense of, oh, this is my life without carrying the weight of this on me. And it was like I didn't, and it was like I still had upsetting feelings come up. I still had some anger. And it wasn't like everything is rainbows and lollipops, but I
Yeah.
wasn't carrying the psychic weight that's not mine to carry.
Exactly.
And that is a huge, and I'm still learning. Like I'm back in the front lines of a battle,
Yeah.
and and I have to I don't know what the right answer is. And that's another thing about being in control. God gives us today. We can only do what today is.
Yes.
And I'm sorry to keep talking, but there's one of the quick story I wanted to remind us is my first time I came back from Brazil, you have to take your white. I had surgery, so I must have had two surgeries because I had to do the white night. It was my white night, which is
Yeah.
everybody should know what that is.
Hmm.
And I did my white night, and I woke up in the morning, and I have a sliding glass door in my bedroom, and the door was open about this much.
Wow.
And my first thought was, they came and they found me, and they left the door open to let me know that they could find me anywhere.
Yes.
That's what I heard. That's the first thought that I heard. And then I started
Oh,
doubting maybe I was sleepwalking or, but when I saw the door cracked, when I first opened my eyes, I was like, they had to show me physically
yes.
that they could show up for me anywhere I am. And I'm got goosebumps again because all of us who've been in Abadiania,
No.
Brazil is a place. We don't have to go to Brazil to be in Abadiania.
Yeah.
It does strengthen. I highly recommend going there and recharging. Like, I feel, and I tell my
Absolutely.
friend, why do I go? Because it's like I need to plug myself in
Hmm.
to that frequency and
Yes.
just rest and not try to care for somebody or figure something out or show up for the world, but allow myself to be
Heal.
nourished and guided in a
Mhm.
clean, clear place. And that's
Yes.
why I travel 6,000 miles once a year.
I know, and it's beautiful that you are sharing that with us because it's about self-love and self-care. If you can't be well, then how can you help others? And I had to learn that in Abadiania too, because I was so busy
Yes.
doing, 16
Running
hour
around.
days.
Yes. Yeah.
I never
Urge.
stopped.
Yeah.
And then when I wasn't in the cafe and in the Casa, I was giving some talks. And
Yeah.
I never actually took any time. I rarely sat in the current, and that was the beauty. I mean, COVID was a dream come true
I know. It was
because
so
I got to sit
that
in the
COVID
current.
was oh
It
I
was
mean
a
it
beautiful
was
thing.
so it was the it
That's
I
the
mean the
thing.
current is still wonderful, but it's still a little bit of a slog, like especially that first couple of times it's just like it's grind, but the COVID currents, wow.
I know.
And
And
they
it,
were only 45 minutes. I mean, right? They were like an hour door to door, but you had to like the prayers, and I think it was only an hour. Was it an hour and a half? I don't remember. They were super short. Was
yeah,
it
well,
two?
they're 2 hours now, and they're still packing a punch. I mean, they're really,
Oh yeah,
really
they're
strong.
still oh yeah, no, they are potente. I'm just the sweetness of resting in the COVID current though was just this. It was, I think, and that was the first time I had been back since the rupture, and I'm really glad that I came back. Yeah.
Yeah, and also now they're doing interventions again. They were suspended for a while because COVID, very few people were
Oh no,
traveling.
they're doing them. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because people started coming back, you're right. Some groups started coming back. And then the interventions that I have done there and the surrogate interventions I've done over the last few years since COVID have been absolutely extraordinary.
Yep.
And I always listen to, I hear Medium Joy's voice. It is God who heals. I am just an
Yeah.
instrument in
Yeah.
God's hands. So all of those entities are there. I feel the
Yes.
presence of them. There is
Yes.
the waterfall is mind blowing.
Oh.
The crystal beds, I have to be nearly carried out of them. And the rosary, I mean, I just go take off into some
Yes.
zone and I speak Gaelic,
Yes.
speaking in tongues.
This is the first time I really participated in the rosary, and it was so beautiful because there were like four languages going on at the same time. There was English, Portuguese, French, and German,
Chinese,
and
sunflowers
yeah,
in there,
Sunflower does
Chinese.
Chinese. I know, and yeah, it was
All roads lead to God, and we really need the Casa energy, which is
yes,
within us. I mean, you're
yes,
right. A lot of people may not feel like going the whole way back to Brazil or for whatever reason. Or if they do, they will find an amazing high energy field there. I mean, surprisingly, so many people were surprised. They went, "Oh my God, those currents!" I mean, holding on
yeah,
to the walls coming out, but also
yeah,
just the whole idea of going to recharge is what you said, and sort of
yes,
going for yourself is something
yes,
so beautiful because it's traveling with faith. You're traveling there knowing that you're going to be helped and to give yourself that time. And there is a portal there. And of course, I listen to myself sometimes at the currents I did during COVID, and they're really, really strong. I don't know how I did it because I sound like a DJ. I had very little, I didn't have any experience of doing that, but I turned around, the right song was there at the right time, everything just flowed. And I learned so much about all of them that I didn't have
I
time to
know,
read when I was in Abadiania with thousands of people.
yes,
It was
yes,
literally, 16 hours a day and just fall into bed and then get up and do the same again. So the beauty is now getting to know the entities on a very personal level, like you were saying, Saint Rita and Mary Magdalene. You just mentioned her as well.
yeah. She's new to me. I that was so I brought my daughter to the Casa in one of my trips
Wow.
before, and it was really hard on her. I don't think she was fully ready, and she was in college. So I don't know if she was 19 or 20, but my daughter, I went into labor on Easter, so I labored all day to when I gave birth, and it was like 40 hours. It was a long labor, and she was born the
Oh,
day after Easter. So we were in Brazil on Easter,
wow.
and we were at Lutz Divina, and she had been really, really sick, like some vomiting diarrhea thing, and I had taken care of her. And then Easter morning, like when I went into labor with her at 2 a.m. Easter morning. So about that time Easter, gosh, 20 years later, I am deathly ill. Like I I had the night guard call Russell. I thought I was dying. I was so sick. And I
Oh,
knew it was a purge, that she had had this huge purge of all of that. This is
mm,
Misa. She's here, my kitty. There's Misa.
gorgeous. Beautiful.
Hello. Um, and I was like, wow. So, whatever my daughter did get or didn't get, we had this something. And the point of that whole Easter story was, my daughter was there. There was this huge purge, it was the worst sickness I've had, vomiting, diarrhea of my life. And I've had it a few times. Mother Mary came to me.
Wow.
And it wasn't like a thought. It was like, like she was present in my room taking care of me.
Wow. That's
And
beautiful.
then I fell madly in love with Mother Mary. Like, and now, to know these, I am so like, I look back on my life, and the entities have been in my life. I just didn't know it. We know when,
Exactly.
my childhood was very tumultuous, all this screaming and yelling, and there was just, ugh. And one night I was so scared about my mother. She was gone. Didn't come home. And Jesus, I was laying on the floor, but I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I was laying on the floor by my parents' bed, because we were all sleeping in the same room, terrified. And Jesus came and held me.
Wow.
Like, and I was a small child. We didn't go to church every Sunday. I knew about Jesus, but like, I still to this day have a vision of Jesus coming and holding me in my fear.
So
So then
lovely.
fast forward all these years later, and you don't tell very many people this. I can tell everybody in the podcast, they're like, yeah, I saw so and
Yeah,
so down on the
I
waterfall.
love
And,
it.
there was King Solomon was walking through, but anyway, so then fast forward, I'm a single mom and going through the grief of divorce, even though it's something that's the right thing to do. And my sister-in-law at the time had sent out for Christmas, with God, all things are possible. And that was
Mm,
the card, and I lived with that card for a year. Like I lived with it. Like I kept it, like, with, because I had, so
love
Lisa.
it. I love it. I love it. It's so fabulous. Oh my God. I love
So
it.
that's Saint Rita's saying. I didn't even know who said that.
Yeah, of
Got me through
course she
that.
said it.
I
She's
said
the
that
saint of
that
the
was in
castle.
2002, and I came to the Casa 12 years later, and then I find out that that's a Saint Rita thing, with
I
God, all
know.
things possible. So like, you just like, and I'm and I and my one of my experiences at the Casa in Brazil and Abadiania is like, how in the how in God's name did I get lucky enough to show up here? Like,
Exactly.
like like I want to be in control of my life, but I would have never orchestrated it or known to show up here if
Yeah,
I had if I hadn't surrendered to being called. And I still feel that. I'm like, I'm so incredibly humbled to not know God here, but to like have the presence of these people, and to have this opportunity to, my godfather is in New Zealand, Peter Wah.
love
Yeah,
Peter. Love
I
him.
love Peter. He's like a homeopathic, my father, like my dad's name was Paul Peter, but Peter is kind and loving where my father was not. So I got to have these like godfather, it was Peter. And then my godmother is uh, this lovely woman, and but a lot like my mom, kind of whoa. But again, she's like, but I didn't even know that when I was picking them. I just was like these, and it was, anyway. Being baptized at the Casa was another blessing that I got to experience.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
it does change you because you are reborn into a
yeah,
new community, if you like, and a
yeah.
new way of life. I mean, your experiences at the Casa have been phenomenal when the medium was there. And then afterwards in Abadiania, I mean, we had a discussion in the
Yes,
cafe, and you were
yes, we
really
did.
we were talking actually, and I remember it about coming back, and I know it's different because there's less people, but it's so profoundly beautiful
It
because
is.
there is less people and there's more
Yes.
time for each other. And I had time to
Yes.
sit and talk. And then with you, and you were talking about things that push your buttons, which I never realized. I don't think we ever had a deep conversation like we were
No,
having at COVID
no.
because we had no time. So the
Right.
beauty now is that we can sit in the gardens, we can go to the waterfall. Okay, there's still a bit of a way to the waterfall because there's people, enough people there, and people do take their time, and nobody's shouting at each other. So we do kind of get to know each other more and more, which is really important, and
Yeah.
it's something that was lacking in Abadiania because there were so many people. And yet, when I gave talks about Abadiania to groups of people there, they knew me, but I didn't know them. So this podcast, for those who believe, I really, using the words of Dom Ignacio, for those who believe no words are necessary, for those who do not
Yeah.
believe no amount of words are sufficient. And
Amen. So
I
true.
think it's amazing that we can now connect on a very soul level, even across the miles. I love the internet for this. It's
Yes,
also nasty in other ways, but it's great for this and
it
for us
is.
to get to know each other as a community, as you were saying, and as a family, because we're uh, all over the world. And I just missed you in Abidjan. I'll catch you again the next time, or you know people are coming and going at different. I mean, I'm spending a bit more time in Ireland because I have things to do with family and that. So, I'm enjoying going back and bumping into people, and suddenly, oh my God, we get a chance to sit down and talk, for ages, whereas before there was never that deep communication. And we have so much in common. We have a common thread running through everything that we have. We live by faith and not by sight. I mean, I know that the psychic surgeries were really, everybody wanted to see them or whatever, but I think they were just done for the non-believers. But now I don't miss any of that chaos,
In the physical surgeries were done for the non-believers. You said
Yeah, the
psychic.
physical
Yeah, yeah,
interventions, and I saw so many of them. I
I
mean, I
bet.
really, I couldn't even begin to say what I saw, and it was miraculous and it was real and it was amazing. But I also found that, you know, we had to go through this metamorphosis in the Casa, and the Casa has actually shifted dimensions, and it's on a much higher dimension than most of the world. The portal is open, and the veil is so thin there now that
Yeah,
even way before all the people were there, I mean,
yeah.
if something happened during COVID when it turned into this ghost town and very quiet, suddenly there was this huge upshift in energy, and it was almost like tangible. I mean, you go into the valley for a walk, and the sunrise, and then up for the sunset, and
Oh, yeah.
it's God. God is there, and you can really feel it. And people having interventions. I mean,
Yeah,
I would be lying on the crystal bed, and I could feel them inside
yeah.
me working all the
Yes.
time. And it's in the waterfall. I mean, I was coming out of the waterfall and having to straight to bed afterwards because
Yeah.
I'd been so walloped. I mean, that I
I
never had
talk about,
time.
well, talk about interventions. I had had a melanoma on my forearm before Brazil. So I grew up in
Wow.
Hawaii, like a blonde kid, and I've had some, there's like the porridge. There's, not too much to worry. You've got to do something, and then the melanoma is scared the crap out of me because it's. I mean, they cut it really early. It didn't even look like a melanoma, but for me, it was like, okay, Karen, you got this is a huge wake up call. You take really good care of yourself, but you got to be next level. Like this, something got under your skin, So I'm sitting in current this last trip, and my first and I literally feel them work. It's on my forearm. They took a big chunk of my forearm out. I can feel them working on there.
Hmm.
several times in current. And then I see, and I'm not looking like, I always say I'm in current minding my business. I'm not like saying, like, so the next thing I know, I see black lines of energy in my arm.
Wow,
I see
really?
black lines of energy repeatedly. And
Mm.
I was like, and they were working on the cancer because while they can take a chunk of my flesh, there was still black lines of cancer in my arm. And then I
Mm.
went to the waterfall, and I adore the waterfall. Sunflower and I go, I mean, but this time I always like do the waterfall, but this time I kept holding my arm up like this. I just like it, my and so I got 4 rounds of herbs just for the skin cancer because it wasn't just one day in current. It was, I don't know how many days in current that my arm was
Yes,
aching, that I saw black lines. I don't know how many times I went to the waterfall and did this. Like,
good.
this is no joke. I do not want this bullshit. And it's not bullshit. It's how I'm taking it is, and I have to go to the dermatologist every 3 months because it's invasive. And
Mm.
that's what I learned this just a few weeks ago, that it was an invasive cancer.
Yes.
And again, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So that's like, okay, I need to, like, th- this self-care is not an option,
Uh,
especially with the insanity on the planet right now. Like, boundaries, finding people that love you and see who you are and know you, you know, whatever this we are playing high stakes spiritual
yes.
warfare right now.
Yeah, we are
And
on the front lines.
we are on the front lines. We are under
We are
attack.
really on the front lines, man, and
Front lines,
it's
sister.
tough.
And it is
It,
brutal, is what it
it,
is.
to hold the line. We just show up, hold the line, and every day I light candles and I just say, listen, just show me what to do. And
I
my car just drives me out to the well, then the holy well of
Yes,
St. Divna.
yes,
I mean, I
yes.
don't do any of it. The car, I
Uh,
just show up the well, and every time I show up the well, there's people there, and I end up telling them about the history of the well and what's going on, and they're all looking at me and go, "How do you know so much about this stuff?" And I said, "Well, this well is on my mother's land, and there's no coincidences. I mean, St.
oh,
Dimna is
wow.
not very well known. I mean, it's for insanity,
I know it is. I
all
know.
the anxiety, stress,
Yes,
everything, just, everything that's happening right now on the planet.
yes, yeah.
And, and I just come out with this stuff and I just verbatim it. I don't make anything up. And they're like,
I know.
really? And I'm like, yeah, and it saved my uncle's life, and because he had mental problems and whatever. I mean, the water is so high. And of course, like the Casa water. I mean, I have Casa water here. I'm actually going to bring it over to a friend in Wicklow, probably next week, because she's having problems with her neighbors who she thinks are going to poison her well. I mean, people have these crazy neighbors. I mean, not
Right.
everyone's on the same page, but I remember the entity telling somebody, a friend of mine here in Ireland, a farmer, he said, if I bring a small bottle of water and put it in my well, will this keep my well clean? And the entity said, definitely.
Yeah.
It is blessed and your well will never be contaminated because we need
Mhm.
water. It's the most precious, it's precious. We're 70% water.
I was just going to say, and I'm learning that I study Chinese medicine,
Yes.
and here I am studying these ancient texts with this genius guy, and they're talking about this channel, the water channel, and the life force intelligence that's in water. And this is Chinese text from thousands of years ago that I've been studying Chinese medicine for 35 years. And you know how that lit me up? Like, I'm passionate about water. I mean, just on a hydration level, but water is frequency. We've seen the Japanese photographer capture crystalline images of
Remoto,
white
yeah,
harmony. Water is holy,
yeah,
and it has a frequency because that's what
yeah.
we are. That's why when you go to Brazil, you get a cleaning of all these frequencies, and you come back and all the frequencies that no longer resonate, there's a crispy crunchy time until that
Yeah.
sloughs off, at least in my life, because I'm still letting go of old frequencies that are lineages. I feel like I'm done hundreds of years of ancestry, and I'm stopping the insanity
Yeah.
at this level. So
Oh no, we're doing the ancestral work as well on top of everything else, which
yeah,
I only discovered that about 10 years ago. And I remember the entity saying it to me, and I was going on top of what I'm doing already. And he's like, yeah, yeah. And they said, well, we never give you anything you can't handle. And I'm like, so I just keep,
feeling back and like,
I'm like, oh no, cut
oh,
the ancestors. And I mean, there's pictures in this home. I mean, I'm actually, this is the house I was born in.
oh
And
wow.
yeah, upstairs. And there's pictures of my ancestors all over the wall. And sometimes I just feel them staring at me. And I'm like, okay, I'm on it. I'm on it. I always light a candle for them as well because I'm like telling them. And when I
Oh
go into
yeah,
the well, because it's all
yeah,
my ancestors, I just say, listen, show me what to do. And they do. I mean, they just keep saying, keep doing what you're doing, spread the
yeah,
water, spread the love. And you're right that the water in the Casa, that's all we used for interventions. And it was used as medicine. Sometimes you just give
yes,
somebody a bottle of water, no herbs, just
I
a bottle
know,
of water, or
I
go to the
know,
waterfall. That's the
yes,
medicine. So
yeah,
water is the highest frequency, and of course it's
yeah,
the new oil, because here I'm living the lakelands in Ireland, and 94% of the water is polluted by nitrates, slurry, sewage, and there's dead fish lying in the water. I mean, Ireland,
oh,
is really under pressure. Yeah, I mean, it's insane how little um, we appreciate the gifts of Mother Nature. But I think people are waking up now and they saw the dead fish. I mean, I'm swimming in the only clean lake I know. It's spring water. And it's interesting because I don't want to go on a crusade and, there's litter everywhere. I mean, people are just so crazed, but they're not, a lot of people are not actually ready for what's happening on the planet. I know in Ireland we have this migrant issue where people are becoming really uptight about their culture being usurped and stuff. And I'm like, there's room for everybody in God's choir, and there's a reason for this. And I say hello to people on the street all the time. I even speak Portuguese. There's a lot of Brazilians here. And Ireland is a small country, but this fear of being, diluted or something, I'm sorry, we're all the same. So you just got to get over yourself.
yeah,
I don't have a tolerance for hatred. I have
yeah,
zero tolerance, and I will actually get up and walk out of a room now, which I learned to do in the Casa. If somebody is a character assassinating somebody else, I mean, I just say excuse me, and I disappear. I can't even go into a pub without completely protecting myself for at least half an hour, because I don't really go out that much. So I have to walk into an environment where there are spirits, and the pub is where there's a lot of heavy, alcoholism, as you know
yeah,
all about this. So I'm very much aware. The Casa taught me so much about energy that it's I don't even have to think about it anymore. I pray without ceasing. And also, I'm so grateful that you and me and many others are sisters, and no matter where we are in the world, we have each other's backs.
yeah. It's true. I mean, I could
And
call you anytime, anywhere, or I have other people like, in New Zealand or Switzerland, Sunflower in Brazil. I mean, yeah. Hey, listen, I only have a couple more minutes. I do need to get ready for my
sure
afternoon of
thing. I'm really
but
excited to talk to you because you nailed a lot of what I wanted to talk about, because we haven't talked about this in other podcasts. And it's short and sweet. And it's also, the connection is just as strong as it was since the last time I saw you. I think it's probably 2 years now. And I just feel like I saw you yesterday. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and your cat's tail.
I know
Um,
this. I think
mean,
I know, you know what? She picks up on the energy. Cats are energetic beings, and
exactly.
she feels
She
all of
knows.
this. She's never around the computer like this. And she's like, how many cattails did we see go by on the podcast this morning? Quite a
It's
few. And
beautiful.
now she's laying on the floor all like, I'm so
All
cute. You know,
zonked
yeah,
out, being worked on. And also, I will see you soon. And I know that we are always heart to heart. We're always connected by the heart energy and grateful for the Casa because it brought us together and we can have this and multiply this light on the planet. And that's all we need to do. And just put one step in front of the other and keep going because we really are the light workers, the real hardcore. This is our mission to keep
yeah.
going and keep loving and forgiving and letting go. So thank you, Karen, with all my heart.
You too.
And we'll see
You
each other soon. Love you.
love you too. Zoom hug, zoom, zoom.
Okay,
Bye,
thank
love.
you, darling. Bye now.